Hey YouTube, so I am really looking forward to making this video today because it's a topic that I've spoken with people about maybe 4 times this past week, and I've spoken about it many other times before this week, and that is the topic of piggybacking. All right, um, but before I talk about this, I want to tell everybody here a personal story of mine. So, I think in the middle of last year or the end of last year, I had found out that you need to be 13 years old minimum in order to have a credit card account. I didn't know this. I am way past 13 years old. Not in my 20s anymore, and I'm not in my 30s. I'm in my 40s right now, and I'm finally finding out because I probably just never asked a question or something that never came across my table that you need to be at least 13 years old to have a credit card account. Now that doesn't mean that a 13-year-old could go into, let's say, Best Buy, and when the cashier sometimes says, this is just an example, sometimes says, uh, hey, if you apply for a credit card today and you get approved, you get 20% off this purchase, right? So most 13 years old, I think, would not be approved for that. In fact, I would even bank on saying that almost no 13-year-olds will get it. But this is what I mean by you need to be at least 13 years old, all right? And this is the personal story. So my son Eduardo, who back last year was 12 years old still, he was going to turn 13 years old in March of this year, 2021. And so what I did was when I found out that you need to be 13 years old, I said to myself, you know what? I can put Eddie onto some of my credit cards as an authorized user. Now, obviously, I'm not going to give him the credit cards for him to utilize, all right. But I can put him on piggybacking onto my credit cards. Okay, why? Because he had turned 13. So what I did was last year is I got into my Google Calendar on my phone, and a few days after his birthday, I wrote down that I was going to make phone calls to some credit cards which I have, and ask them to put him onto my account. Now, what happened was that I completely forgot about that. Even though it was in my Google calendars, I kind of missed it for that day. But then I was reminded about it about 2 weeks ago. So about 2 weeks ago, I called up. It was 4 accounts that I have, and I asked them to put Eddie on the account. They said, "Yeah, no problem. We're gonna put him on the account." Now, I put him onto. I trying to remember. I think it was on my Raymore Flanagan, my Home Depot, my Lowe's account as well, and I forget which one was the other one, but it was definitely four. All right, and those credit cards just arrived this past week, and it's really cool because it has his name on it. All right, now he obviously knows he's not going to be using it. All right, but he has the credit cards, and it's a great thing for any, I think, teenager to have. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because, in my opinion, this is one of the best gifts that I can give my son. And I'm going to do the same thing with Kaylee, my daughter, who is 7 years old, and the same thing with Joseph, my other son, who's 5 years old. Right? Once they turn 13 years old, I will call up my credit cards and ask them to bring on Joseph and Kaylee as an authorized user in my account. Now, why is this important for Eddie? All right, and I've spoken with Eddie about this. It's because once he turns 18 years old, all right, in 5 years, he's going to have phenomenal credit. All right. Now, why is he going to have phenomenal credit? First of all, I wouldn't even be surprised if it's like in the mid 800s. Okay, because he's going to have all the accounts that he's going to have up to that point are going to have each of these four items perfectly perfect. Okay, now let me go over these four items over here. There's the credit limit, which is the same thing as a line of credit. There's the balance, basically how much you owe on that account. All right, credit limit for that account, balance in that account. Your payment history, meaning, have you ever been late for 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, 120 days, right? Or have you always been on time for every payment, right? Now, on time could also mean maybe you're 10 days late, okay? You know how sometimes a bill's due, let's say on June 10th, and you don't, and the minimum payment is $50, and you don't make that $50 payment until June 20th? Well, you're only 10 days late, and that credit card will not report that, because it's not 30 days. They won't report it to the credit agencies, but they will issue, a fine, not a fine, a small, fee, right, for like a late fee, for $5, $10, whatever it is, right? It's better to pay that than it is to, not to pay the fee and the minimum payment than to not pay and then have a late payment hit on your credit. And the other thing is, the other item, the fourth and last important item, is the age of the account. Okay, now, Eddie, once he turns 18 years old, okay, he could then go to Best Buy, and when they ask him, hey, do you want to apply for the credit card? He'll give them his name, social security number, how much he makes, right, date of birth, the phone number, all that stuff. And right then and there, I guess Best Buy or whatever bank is servicing Best Buy is going to check Eddie's credit report, and it's going to say that he has all these credit card accounts, okay, and he's never been late, and he has high limits and very low balances. Once again, never been late, and they're older accounts. So, for example, with the Home Depot card right now, I've had that for about 7 years now. All right, but in 5 years, when he turns 18, that the age of that account will then be, what is it, 7 plus 5? It's going to be 12 years old. So add another 5 years to every single account that he's now an authorized user for, and this will go higher. The higher this is, the more points he gets. All right. So the reason why I'm sharing this is because I also want to let other parents out there know that if you want to give a gift to your son or your daughter, all right, or your sons or your daughters, give them this, okay? And this is why, okay? You are not going to be giving, first of all, just so you know, you're not going to give them a credit card, all right? You're going to be giving them they're going to inherit all the goodness from the good credit cards that you're gonna that you're gonna give your son or your daughter or your daughter. All right, and this is what's gonna happen. Once again, the example with Best Buy, they're gonna go into a Best Buy, they're gonna get approved. All right, let's say at 18 years old, your daughter or your son wants to buy a car, okay, and you want to make sure that your son and your daughter get the best car, and maybe you don't want to even co-sign on it. You just want to make sure that your son and your daughter are responsible for this car. They're going to walk into a dealership, they're going to run their credit, and they're going to say, wow, your credit score is sky high. And at 18 years old, 19 or 20 years old, they will buy a car, and instead of paying a crazy amount of interest, they're going to be paying very low interest. Why? Because they have the credit history to prove to the banks that are going to lend money for the purchase of the vehicle that they can make their payments on time. All right, that is a big problem that many 18 and 19 and 20-year-olds have, is that when they walk into pretty much anywhere to get a loan, right, to get a credit card, to buy a car, right, they have little to no credit history, so they're not able to move forward as quickly as they want to. Why? Because they're limited with that history. Okay, so I'm just letting everybody know that, once again, in my opinion, the best gift that you can give your children is credit. One of the best gifts is credit. Okay, now let's go over these four. Okay, these four are essential, and they're also important in you picking the credit card that you want to give to another person as an so that person can be an authorized user. Okay. Now, I had an individual come in here this past week. Who He came in with his son-in-law. All right, and his son-in-law is already an adult. They live home together. I think it's like four or five of them that live in their home. And once again, they were just absolutely surprised by this. They didn't know that they can piggyback off of each other. So the son-in-law, all right, is now going to call his credit card companies and say, "Hey, I want to add my father-in-law on this." Okay, I'm sorry, not son-in-law, stepson, stepfather. Okay, and the stepfather is going to do the same thing as well. In fact, we checked his credit report, and I think he had like 8 credit cards, two of which I recommended to not have his stepson go on as an authorized user. Why? Because of this, because of the balance. All right, and they weren't even that big, but they weren't even that large, but the other ones had zero balance. I think one had a limit of like $7,000 with no balance. All right, so those are good cards to get on, and they had a 100% payment history, and they were older cards. They were about like 8 or 9 years old. Like these are great, perfect accounts to go on to. Now, let me go over these, okay? Because I've had situations also where I've helped people out and they do the piggybacking, and I go over all this with them, all right? But then what they do is they make a mistake. They would say, all right, well, I asked my mom if I can piggyback, and then what they didn't do is they didn't check the credit history of that particular. They didn't check the payment history of that particular credit card. So what happened was when I'm thinking of this one individual asked her mom to put her on as an authorized user, then way back about 6 years ago, there was like 2 or 3 late payments on that account. Now that individual, now that person who's piggybacking, right, now is inheriting that late payment. So her credit score actually went down a bit, not too much, because since 6 or 7 years ago, that was the last time that there was a late payment. All right, okay, but the credit limit was high. There was no balance, but she just inherited these 3 late payments, and the age of the account was older, so the credit score did go down. All right, so you always have to be careful. You always have to make sure what credit cards you're becoming an authorized user on. Okay, so I'm gonna give you an example. So one of the credit cards that I put my son on was Home Depot. And Home Depot, I have a limit of $10,000, and my balance is about I would say like $350. All right. Now, why is it $350? I know with the other videos I always say, hey, look, try not to have a balance because some of these credit card companies, they charge an arm and a leg when it comes to interest. Well, I'm not paying any interest on this because about, I would say, half a year to like 6 to 9 months ago, I needed to buy a new water heater for home, and at Home Depot, and I think anytime you buy something, you purchased an appliance for over $400, they will give you 0% interest rate on that purchase, I think for the next year or something like that. So I got it. All right. I forget how much that water heater costs, but it doesn't matter. Now the balance is about $350 because I've been paying it off, just the minimum payments. Why not, right? 0% balance. The other reason why I use my Home Depot credit card is because I got 5% off of that appliance. Once again, Home Depot, these store cards, they're important. They give you money off. They're putting money back into your pocket for stuff that you need. So if you know you're gonna go shopping for groceries, why on earth are you still paying cash? Or why on earth are you still using a debit card? use a card that will put money back into your pocket. You're going to pay for the food anyway. You're going to pay for that appliance anyway. You're going to pay for that vacation anyway. If you know you're going to go on a vacation, you're going to buy, a few plane tickets. Put it on your card. You can get money back. I think I made a video. Pretty much everything I spend on, that my family and I spend on, I would say like 99.9% of everything is put on a credit card, which we immediately pay for as soon as there's a balance. Okay, really the only thing that we don't pay for on the credit card is anytime we go to a store and they say we don't accept credit card, or there's a fee for using a card, so then like the math doesn't make sense, or always it's a gasoline station where it's $3 for the gallon cash, or $3.19 for the gallon if you're using a credit card. So in that case, you don't use a credit card, you use cash, right? But once again, use these cards because they come in handy. We've saved literally tens of thousands of dollars through the years because of these cards. So what happens now with my son, all right, is that he's inheriting this. Okay, his utilization, right, is at, I would say 4%. All right, I'm going to round it up. It's at 3.5%, but I'm going to round it up to 4%. So on his credit, all right, on if he just had this one card on his just on his credit report, it would show 4%, but he doesn't. He has other ones as well. All right. In total, his limit is about maybe $45,000, and the total balance, because some of the other cards do have balances, is probably about $500. Okay, you do the math. It's his utilization is, I think, at 1%. It's not a lot. Now, why do I want to make sure that the credit limit is high? Okay, because just in case the balance is high also, then your utilization is not high, because the higher this is, the larger this amount is, all right, then the lower your credit score is. So you always want to keep this as low as possible so you can keep your credit score as high as possible, all right? Now, what's up with payment history, right? The credit cards that I put my son on, they're 100% payment history, meaning that I've never been late on them, ever, okay? Now, this is phenomenal because once my son and my daughter and my other son turn 18 years old and they have, this credit, they have number 3 over here, this payment history. I keep on saying credit history, my bad. Payment history showing 100%. It's a reflection of them, right? So when Joseph was 5 years old, once he turns 18 years old in 13 years, which I know time is going to go by like this, before you know it, he's going to be 18 years old. He's going to go into Honda or Ford or Toyota, and they're going to roll out the red carpet for him, all right? He's not going to get a used car. He's going to get a new car, and I'm going to encourage him to go on one of those weekends where they have, or those holiday weekends, or they have these specials where, if you have good credit, they will give you the 0 or the 1 or the 2% interest rate on the life of your loan, all right? Instead of paying a 5% rate or a 10% rate, or even having to rely on somebody else to co-sign for my son or my daughter or my other son. I mean, this happens often, and then sometimes it messes up the other person's credit, right? I mean, how many times have you, maybe somebody who, for example, cannot buy a house, cannot buy a car. Why? Because they co-signed for another individual, because that other individual needed a car. So you are the good guy, or the good, or the good person, right? And you know what? I'm just gonna help this person out. Maybe they're your mom, maybe they're your dad, your brother, your sister, your son, your daughter, or your cousin, or your best friend. Why? I'm not saying why would you do that, but imagine being in a way handcuffed to that to that loan, right? You cannot move forward. Like there are things that you want to do, but you can't do anything because you have a loan. And then the worst of it is that let's say you co-sign for somebody else, and then 3 years go by, and then they miss a payment, and that messes up your your credit score. So what I'm saying over here is that we're empowering by doing this is we're empowering young individuals, all right, to learn how to manage their finances. Okay, I want Eddie, and it's not that I want Eddie's going to know when he's 18 years old. All right, this is how you manage money. Don't let money manage you. You have to manage money. And one of the ways to do it is by understanding how credit works because this is how the wealthy do it. Okay? You imitate what they do and you will be wealthy as well. You imitate what the poor do, you will be poor as well. And I'm not talking about, having, excess funds, meaning that um, meaning that that you're gonna automatically. What I meant to say is like you're not gonna automatically become a millionaire. All right, I mean that this is one step towards becoming wealthy. All right, that this is what wealthy people, what millionaires like. When I mean millionaires, true millionaires. Okay, this is what they practice and this is what they learn when they are young. All right, they imitate what other wealthy people do. All right, real quick story in terms of like imitation and doing what wealthy people do. One of the autobiographies that my son Eddie and I read last year was the autobiography of Ben Carson. We like to read, even though we haven't read for a while. But we read the book together, and what we noted in there, and I think I mentioned this in another video, was that Ben Carson, who is one of the finest doctors to have ever lived, he grew up in the hood, all right, and very poor, didn't have any money, and it was him and his brother, single mom as well, and his mom used to go to wealthy people's homes to clean, all right, and one of the things that she noticed was there were that the house was surrounded inside there were a lot of books and TV was very limited. So what did she do? She just said to herself, okay, well, if the wealthy are doing this, I need to implement these these systems into my home. So that's what she did. She basically got a whole bunch of books, got rid of the TV, and imitated the wealthy. And you have somebody like Ben Carson who grew up very poor, all right, become one of the finest doctors that has ever lived. I mean, the guy is arguably a genius, all right. He has one of the finest and most precise hands in the world. Okay, the things that he's done in the medical profession is unreal, all right. Why? I'm not saying it's a direct result, but one of the reasons is because his mom said, all right, well, I have to imitate the wealthy. And this is what they do as well. All right. So now let's go to, we did number one, we did number two, right? So we talked about utilization and, how it relates to credit limit and balance, right? A payment history, all right? You do not want to inherit. You want to make sure that the credit card that you're going to become an authorized user of, right? And I put over here AU. That's what it means. You're going to become an authorized user. That that has 100% payment history. All right, and then the age of the account as well. All right, so there are people who, once again, will become authorized users, but their credit score will go down. Okay, why? Because the age of the account. And I'm going to give you an example. So, for example, like let's say you are somebody who has 4 credit card accounts, right? And each of them are, let's say, 8, 9, and 10 years old, right? Now, 8, 9, 10, and 11 years old, right? So you have four cards. One is 8 years old, plus 9 years old, plus 10 years old, plus 11, right? So let's get the average age of these, right? So this is let's see, 20, then 30, yeah, 38. All right. So divide 4, 38, and that comes out to like 9 points. So the average age here is like 9 point, let's just say 9.5, right? Let's just say. All right. Now, what's going to happen is if you put on your account, on your credit report, an account that is only 1 year old, this is what's going to happen to your average age, right? It went from it went to basically between 9 and 10 years old. So now you're going to have a new card with only 1 year of existence. Let's do the math here, all right? So now this is 39. Now let's divide 39 by 5. What is that? That's going to be now about 8 point something, right? Now it went from 9 a year, an average years of 9, down to 8. Okay, that is going to affect your credit score. Now it's not going to affect it that much, but just remember to make sure that you know what your average age of your accounts are, and that it's not going to get affected by you becoming an authorized user, okay? Because you don't want to go from more to less. You want to go from less to more, okay? Now, I think that's about all I had to say. People, please, if I have to once again reiterate that this is one of the best gifts that you can give to others. All right, especially if you're a parent, and especially if you are planning for your child's future, right? I know I hear a lot of, putting money away for college, and, making sure, kids have good grades, and, like, what's up with their future. Look, this is a game that your kids will play in life no matter what. It's just part of life. So you might as well just get them prepared right now, because it's better for them to start with credit. It's better for them to start their adult life with credit than without. All right. I know that this is something that I did not know about until just recently. I grew up in an environment, very loving environment, and I am absolutely thankful for it. This is one of the things that we did not learn. I did not learn this in high school. I did not learn this at home. We learned other types of money management, but we didn't learn about credit, okay? And we didn't learn about interest rates, and how, we didn't learn about, for example, how credit could affect the type of employment you have, getting student loans, getting home loans, getting credit cards, getting all these things. And it's not to max out. It's not so you can live this crazy lavish life, okay? It's more uh, so that you can utilize other people's money to make your life better. All right, you make your life better, you make your family's life better, you make your friends' life better, you make your future better. In fact, your future self is going to be thanking your past self because you're doing this. All right, and by the way, this is never too late to do. Okay, one of the individuals who I had, not that I had come in, but who came in about 3 weeks ago, he's in his 40s. He's a little bit older than I am. And he didn't know about this. He had no idea that you can do this, right? And I looked at his report, and yeah, there are some things that need to be repaired, but it was more of the enhancing of his credit that he needed in order to boost his credit score. That's another thing too that I've noticed with many individuals who I help out. Yes, there is this industry and this business of credit repair, but I like to differentiate between. I want to differentiate between credit repair and credit enhancement. From my experience, I've realized that most people need credit enhancement more than they do credit repair, right? So let's say you have a late payment, right? And I'm staying a little bit on topic, but real quick. So like, let's say you made a late payment 3 years ago on four of your credit cards, okay, and you made another late payment 2 years ago on your auto loan, right? Now there's a lot of individuals who want to get rid of that history there, and there's ways of doing it, all right. And they sometimes will cost money with these credit repair agencies, all right. But one of the things that you could do is you could piggyback as well, all right, and you can even leave that late payment on there, all right. But if you know of an individual, who can assist you with the piggybacking, right, what's going to happen is, your credit score will go up, and that's probably one of the things that you're concerned about, so that you can move on with your life, right? And it's not going to be a like a permanent piggybacking, by the way. And that's one other thing too that I want to touch on is, you see this authorized using and somebody being an authorized user and piggybacking. This is not a lifetime event, all right. All right. So for example, with Eddie over here, right, when he turns 18 and he's able to get his car loan, he's able to get a Discover card, a Best Buy card, a Walmart. I don't know if they have one still. He's going to be able to get a Bank of America credit card. He's going to get all these credit cards, right? Then what's going to happen is, I'm going to say to him, look, Eddie, you have excellent credit already. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to call up these credit card companies that I put you on when you were 13 years old, and I'm going to tell them to take you off as an authorized user. Okay? Why? Because it's not going to affect him, because he's already going to have great credit. He's already going to have that car that he wanted at 0 1% interest rate, and he's going to be making those monthly payments, right? He's going to have those other credit card accounts. So even if I take away all the limits that he has and all the good credit history he has, he's still going to have great credit. Okay? So once again, going back to that individual who I spoke with, who was in his 40s about a few weeks ago, number one, it's not too late for anybody to do this. You can start this at any time, okay? And number two is, he's already spoken with people who he knows, and he's laid out in a way like a plan. He tells them, look, I just need to come on as an authorized user, please. I don't want the credit card. I don't want to use a credit card, all right? I just need to come on as an authorized user, so my credit score will go up, so then I can start making I can start planning my life the way that I want to. He's gonna buy a house. He needs a new car already. He's sick and tired of taking his car to the mechanic, or something's happening to. He wants a new one, but he doesn't want to go and pay high interest on it. So he's gonna wait until these credit card accounts hit his credit report, and then his score will go up. And then the individuals who are helping him out, he's telling them, look, I don't want this for 20 years. I just want this for about a year. That's it. And the same thing applies with my son, Eddie. It's going to say the same thing is going to apply with Kaylee and with Joseph as well. They're not going to be on there forever, okay? They're just going to be on there until they need it. And that's that, all right? And, if they pay it forward, great, all right? One other thing, too, before I forget, is you also, if you piggyback, you got to make sure that whoever puts you on as an authorized user has little to no plans on using that line of credit. So going back to Home Depot over here, right? Going back to my Home Depot account, my limit is 10 grand. My balance is $350. Okay. Now, let's say I want to fix up a house and I need to buy, $3,000 worth of lumber and other materials and all that. And I want to use my Home Depot card, because it gives me 5% off of everything. Now, let's say I spend $9,000, right? If I spend $9,000 and put it on my card and I don't pay it, right, by the time this account hits the credit report, then those $9,000 are going to reflect not just on my credit report, but also on anybody else who I have as an authorized user. So the utilization may go up, and if it does go up, the credit score will, the the credit card will, I mean, the credit score will go down, right? So just remember that. There's a few other things I think that I may have forgotten, and if I did, then I'm sorry. But there's so much that you can do with this. I mean, these are already changing people's lives, and I'm happy that they are, because these are not freebies. That's the other thing too, is right. So sometimes I tell people, look, this is like free money, right? But in a way, I'm not giving you the cash, all right? I'm gladly giving you the education and the resources so that you can get this on your own. All right. This, in fact, this is better than free money. And I know that, in the past year or so with coronavirus, there have been there has been a lot of free money that has gotten out to individuals, to millions of people, right? And sometimes I say to myself, man, if anything, this would have been better because, like let's say you're an individual who, could have, had a better credit score so you can buy a car that you needed, right? Or a minivan for you and your family, right? The money that you save, imagine you buy a $35,000 minivan, and instead of getting a 4% interest rate on that loan because you have excellent credit, you get a 15%, right? The difference over the 5, 6, or 7 years that you pay for that loan is in the thousands of dollars, all right? Probably $10,000, $15,000, okay? Which basically eliminates the free money that you may have gotten, right? And you can multiply this, and knowing this, you can multiply it, right? So utilize this, please, people. And the other thing too is, people hear me say this every now and then, which is, if you don't ask the question, whatever question it may be, the answer will always be no. Okay? Very simple philosophy. If there's a question that you have in mind and you don't ask it, whatever you feel that the other person was going to respond to, it's already a no because the question was never asked. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because you may be asking yourself right now, well, I don't know anybody who can do this. Ask people. I can guarantee everybody who's watching this video that you know somebody who can help you out with this, who has a good account. You just don't know that they have it. That's it. But you know it. You know that person. You may be working with that person every day. That person may be in your family. That person may be your mom, your dad, your son, your daughter, your spouse. It could be your brother, your sister, your favorite cousin. It could be somebody. You just don't know. Why? Because you don't ask the question. So now that you've watched this video, there's no excuse. Go ask the question, okay? And if anything, show this video to that individual. And if you have any questions, you call me regarding this, all right? So my phone number is 908-432-2526. I'm glad that I made this video because I speak about this often. And now, whenever somebody has a question about this, I'm going to just send them the link to this YouTube video. And hopefully they can gain as much as the other individuals who have been helped out by me when they come over here or I speak with them on the phone. All right. So last thing is, please subscribe to my channel, like this video, comment on the video, and share this video with other people who you know, because I can guarantee you it will affect their lives in a positive way. It'll be a productive video instead of a destructive one. All right. I'll see you guys in the next video.